When your father was taken for forced labor...
My father was taken not for forced labor because he was 54 then.
Okay.
But they are neighbor probably because not the whole town was that they like us, you know. So he denounced him that he is a communist.
That he's a communist.
So he wasn't a communist, but it was enough that one man said that he's a communist, and they took him and they put him to Budapest in a camp. He wrote one postcard from there to us. My mother remained there with the 6 girls, and my older sister had a little baby, 3 years old. She came home from where she was married because her husband was also in forced labor. So we were there, my mother, the 6 girls, and the little granddaughter. In 1944, till 1940 we lived there in the humiliation, and then in 1944 they came that they have to take us out from our house. So we had to leave our house as it was with 5 kilograms of clothes and food. Leave the house there with the warm food on the stove, cat, dog, geese, chickens, but everything, the house where it was, and we had to leave, and they took us by carriages with horse to the closest city, Satu. That was the ghetto. And not just us, but they were from other places there, all the Jewish, and we lived very close to each other. We slept on the floor. It was a part taken from the city for the ghetto. So we did not stay there too long, about 2 weeks, and they started to take the people to the train station.
Anna, may I interrupt for just a quick second, for our audience? In March 1944, that's when the Germans occupied Hungary, and that's when you were forced into the ghetto.
Yes, in 1944. Till 1940 till 44, we were just not knowing what happens in the world, that other countries were already taken and killed. Is unbelievable somehow that we could not know anything about it because we would do something in the 4 years. Not a word. It's not like here that you have a TV and they say everything in the TV you can hear, even if you're not supposed to hear. We hear it. We had only a radio, and we knew that the news that happens there, nothing else. So I'm there, I'm coming back to the ghetto, so they took us to the train station, and they put us in cattle wagons like that. I was the 92nd in that car. If I want to tell how was there for 4 days we traveled in that wagon, I would have to take 4 days to tell how we felt there. Because the children started to cry, the old people prayed, other people cursed, why are we here? We couldn't move, we couldn't reach the food. And from time to time, a German came into the wagon and has, who has jewelry or money? You have to give it because otherwise it's going to be killed. All came like, not a surprise, as a shock to us what happened, because we were not prepared to something like that. We did not know. I have to say that 100 times that we did not know what happened in other countries. So there were people who gave the jewelry or the money, and they, when the train stopped, to empty that barrel, what it was in the corner of and what we had to do our things there. It has to be emptied sometimes because it was terrible, the air there, and it started to move, and it was all on the floor. So who gave the jewelry, when the train stopped, we got off a little bit to stretch ourselves, and the people was shot there, even if they gave the jewelry. Then, after 4 years traveling like that, we arrived at night in Auschwitz. We could see it, that is Auschwitz, there, written there. And a lot of people there. And the people made a noise, and then the Germans started to say, "Los, los, schnell, schnell, go for him." It was a terrible chaos there, and the neon light came to our eyes. I was so dizzy that I couldn't know where to go. So then they started to say, women, children in one side, in the other side the man. So it was so fast, and a man came with a stick, an SS. Later we find out that he was Mengele. The name was Mengele. So all of a sudden, I found myself with my 3 sisters in one side, and my mother and my older sister with the baby, 3-year-old baby, and my youngest sister, 14 years old, in another side. And my mother started to say, "Where do you take my daughters?" In German, she spoke German. But nobody answered that. Just the stick showed that go this side. So we had to do what they told us to do. And the left side, where my mother and my 2 sisters and the baby went, we never saw them again. The 4 of us, they went to the other side, and they chased us in a room, and we had to take off our clothes, and they shaved our head. I have 2 braids. They put it long, thick braids. They put it in a box separate. But the rest who had small, short hair, it was on the floor. And we just looked at each other. It went so fast. We found each other in a big room, like this one, and they disinfected us, and they gave us a gray dress with a number on the sleeve, because they did not have time to tattooate us. We were the last, Hungary was the last country but they deported. All the European countries were already long time before that and killed. We did not have idea, not idea about something like that. So they chased us again in a place where we had to sleep there. It was a barn. You could see that horses were there. So we just collapsed there after this that's what we went through, and everybody got to sleep there. In the morning, I was looking for my sisters, and I could not find them. I could not recognize them, the way they looked, the way they changed with no hair and that gray dress, and I called them by names, and that's what we found each other.
You found each other.
Short time after that, a person come, also a deported person, but she spoke Hungarian, also she was from Czechoslovakia. The first question was, where are our parents? Where are the rest of the people? And then she said, you crazy, stupid people, what you are. You don't know what happened to them? Look up there in the smoke, there are your parents. And we just looked at her. Is she crazy that she told? I didn't even know what the word means, crematorium. I was a young girl. I never heard in that town about the crematorium. So she said, why didn't you hide or do something? You don't know what happened to us? We are here, we did not know. And she was surprised that we didn't know where are. And we did not believe her. We thought that she is a mean person, and she wants to scare us or something, but we not believed her. So from there, where we were disinfected, they took us to a barrack in Auschwitz, and the lager, they called it, number C, and we went in a building barracks like that, and we slept in bunk beds, and in the morning we had to stay, and they counted us every morning and every night. They counted us. Because, I don't know why, because they couldn't run away anyway, but they counted us. After the counting, they gave us the breakfast. We could not eat it at all because it was one dish with beets and some carrots, and they were not washed, they were sand on the top of the dish, and all five we had to drink from that dish, and the fifth one, who was in the end, had no food. So we were running to be only in the first row.
Anna, you told me that when you would be forced to line up morning and night, you lined up in rows of 5.
Yes.
And it was you and your 3 sisters. Tell us who was the 5th person.
We had a girl from our next town, and she was always with us. She was the 5th sister with us. And we had to hide always Elizabeth somehow, because when we were stay appel, that's what we said, we stood appel there, they always took out who was very skinny or very fat out. And we never saw again her. So we had a problem with my sister Elizabeth because she was skinny. The 4 of us, we were even overweight than before. And we had to hide her because we were afraid that they
would take her.
They chose her. But every day they took from our barrack, one barrack away, and we never saw them again. One day they came and they said they choose people who were healthy looking. Then they choose the people to go to work, that's what they said. So luckily we all 5 was in the working people. I say people, we were told Häftling. Häftling means prisoner. So we were there, 500 girls chosen for for work, and they put us in a train and took us to a place. We arrived in a huge place there, a farm. A big farm, you couldn't see the end of that farm. And we were told that we'll have to take out first the vegetables from there, mostly beets and carrots and some potatoes. That day we did not have anything to eat, only black coffee, they said it as a water, because the camp was not ready yet, and we had to go a distance for about 2 miles and fill some straw sacks, because that's what, I don't know if I pronounced it well, to sleep on it, straw, to fill it with straw.
That was for your sleep, to sleep
yes.
on this, yeah.
So we had to carry it on our shoulder to the camp, and it was terrible, terrible hot, over 100 degrees, and the dress was short, and some girls found some paper who was cemented, and they put it around their leg, and when they took it off, it came with the skin off, because it was so hot. Then they did another, they chose another one who was very badly injured. They just away from there, sent it to Stutthof, and brought other people instead, because we got 300 other people in Stutthof. So we were 800 altogether. And we started to go, next day we went to work in the morning, and it was told that we should not eat or take a carrot or a beet or anything to eat it, because we are going to be punished. In German, they said. So we went, and we were so hungry that some girls still took a few carrots and hid it in the dress. A guard was with every 50 people, I say again people, helplings. And when he saw that somebody did that wrote the number, we didn't know that. At night when we got home, they were called the number, but they hid it. The guard gave it to the person. I shouldn't say person, because she was a devil, at least 250 kilograms, not pounds. And she came out, and the one who stole that carrots or beets, she got 25 lashes on her back. And she had to be next day at work. And that's what happened. Some people still risk themselves because they were so hungry. And that happened almost every night, the 25, they got it there.
Anna, this place that you were at, this was Proust, and it was, as you said, it was a brand new camp when you got there. What was the labor that you were forced to do at Proust?
I'm getting at that too, yes.
Okay.
Far away from us were some French war prisoners who built the hangar for the on the airport. When the planes go out from there, they are not working. And we had to do, a train came empty, and we had to fill it with sand. Fast, three at one one box like that, and the other train came, and the other train came, and we had to fill it with sand. That was our, and the French prisoners, they did the asphalt.
For making this runway.
Yes.
So you made the base.
Yes.
By trainload after trainload of sand that you had to put down.
Now, because I'm talking here with you, I'm going to tell you the reason. With every 50 people, I always say people, was a German guard. Our guard happened to be a Romanian Romanian, from the occupied territory. So one day he's asking who can sing in Romanian. So we just listened to him, and then my sister Clara said, my sister Anna could sing. She was a solo singer in the school. So he put me to sing, and I sang for him anytime he wanted me to sing. So that's what happened all year around, that we went to work, we came home, I sang. We were lucky we had a washroom, because many camps, they did not have washrooms. So we can clean ourselves there. Christmas time came, and the guards wanted us to do a show for them, Christmas night. So there were many talents in that 800 Häftlings where we were there, and they prepared everything, and the show went on, and I was sitting in the bench back in the top because I just wanted to watch it. All of a sudden, I see the German comes, who we named it Angel, because he never gave the numbers from us, even if he saw that somebody stole a carrot or something. He was a nice man.
Okay.
As I said before, in every nation there are good and bad people. Mm-hmm. Not all the Germans or not all the Jews were bad. There are good and bad. So he came to my bed there, and he said, why don't you come to sing? And I said, because I don't think that I'm a talent or something, but he insisted to just come. I want you to sing in Romanian. So when I got off from the bed, bank bed, I fall and I broke my leg. Right here, I broke my leg. Now that's the end, because even who was sick more than a few days, they sent it back to Stutthof, and they brought another instead, because the 800 had to be always there fixed.
So every time somebody was injured or sick and couldn't go to work, they sent them back to Auschwitz?
We never saw the person again.
Never saw them again.
But there came another one instead. So what happens now? My three sisters and I, we just didn't know what happens. And then Gisela took the guts, and he went to this SS, and he said, do something about it. That my sister should not be taken away. And that a miracle happened, that he went to his girlfriend, who was all over us, and they put my leg in cast. Imagine that millions of people, they didn't care, and one person they saved. That was really, I believe in miracles since then, you know. So they put my leg in cast, and not long after that Christmas, January, it started to, now it was, the Germans already knew that the war is ending, because in 1945, in March already was Auschwitz occupied, right? I think, yes, from the Russian. But they put the people, they took out from the camps and made marches. They had to march out because there were no enough crematoriums to kill them, the remaining one. So they put them in every camp they had to march out. So
So Anna, as just so we understand, as the Russians were getting closer, they forced all the prisoners out on a forced march, what we call a death march.
Not the Russians, the Germans did.
The Germans did, but the Russians were advancing. Yeah. But you couldn't go because of your broken leg.
Well, it happened that our camp has to march.
Yep.
And then 27 people, with me included, could not march at all. Not just from our camp, but the remaining from the people who remained out from other camps. So my 3 sisters had to march, and I had to stay there with the other 26 because we couldn't march. And they took off my shoes because if I don't march, I don't have to. Have shoes, and my 3 sisters left, and I remained there and look at the hole, but was not far from the camp. They just threw there the dead people who died during the march. You know, they couldn't take it. It was cold, and they just in that hole. Look at that hole, and I thought, my God, I'll be there tomorrow, but I didn't mind because no sisters, I'm still sick. Why should I live? To die, it wasn't such a big deal to me. But I was worried and sick for losing my sisters, my 3 sisters. So another miracle happened to me. A girl who worked in the kitchen came to me, and she asked me, she knew me and she knew my 3 sisters also, and she asked me if I can sew. And I was just looking at her. Why do you ask me if I can sew? Like that. And I said, yes, I can sew. Why? Because we are making civilian outfits for the Germans, for the guards, because the war is going to end and they run away. They will run away with the civilian outfits. And that's what happened. One night they ran away, and the next morning the Russian came and I was liberated there. But I wasn't happy with my liberation. This is what we were waiting so hard for, the liberation. But no parents, no sisters. In the middle of nowhere in Poland, sick, I got the typhus. I was just crying and not knowing what to do. They put me in a house. They said, this is the hospital. And I wasn't even feeling well, and they threw me out because they needed the place for somebody else. Coming out from that hospital, I didn't know where to go. I was just be there, not know what to do with myself. Coming out from the hospital, I saw in the door the glass, and I saw myself for the first time. And they gave me a skirt and a blouse. They cut again my hair in the hospital because it was full with lice. So in that outfit and with that no hair, again, I looked in that glass and I didn't know to laugh or to cry. I looked terrible. I couldn't recognize myself. Sick, again without hair. And I came out crying there, and I heard from far away somebody in 3 languages call for help: Hungarian, Romanian, and Yiddish. Help, help, help. So I went close to her. I saw her sitting there in her diarrhea, not moving, nobody around. And what do? I have no strength, but I schlepped her to the hospital there, and she remained there. I met her after 2 years.
You met her after 2 years.
After the liberation, yes. I met her.
So Anna, after all that, you've been liberated, you're in terrible condition, you're alone. What did you do then? And when did you connect with your sisters?
Well, it was dangerous to go around because they were still fighting the Russian look for the Germans. And I found other people like me wandering there. And we went to sleep in the train station because nowhere else we could go. So once a girl looks at me and she's asking me, do you have a sister, Gisela? We resembled very well with my sister. And I said, yes. So she said, I was liberated with your sister Gisela and Clara, and I asked, how about Elizabeth? And then she said, Elizabeth was shot down with most of the people from the 770 people who left the camp, 230 remained alive. The rest was all shot on the way because they couldn't walk anymore. So wandering there for a month, nobody cared, not the Russians, not the Germans, and I knew that my sisters are alive, but I didn't know where.
So by yourself for a month you traveled?
But myself, a month there, and once I hear from far away, I heard music. It was May the 9th. And I heard music, and I always loved music, and I went there to hear the music. And then the French prisoners and the Polish girls, they danced, they celebrated the peace. So what do I do there? I'm not gonna, I can dance. I have still a wounded leg. So I was sitting like this and watching, and then all of a sudden I felt a hand on my shoulder. I was scared, and I turned my head, and then he said, it was he, Mademoiselle, and I started to laugh. That was my first laugh. He calls me Mademoiselle the way I look there,
Mademoiselle.
You know? Mademoiselle. And he was a French war prisoner, and he gave me chocolate and cigarettes, and then I could buy some food. That was the value.
So trade cigarettes for food.
Cigarette and chocolate.
Yeah, for food. Okay.
So I was after that wandering there, what do I do? One day, from that train station, they took us home to Romania. So then I met my two sisters.
In your town?
Yes, but that was the most terrible day in my life when we had to go back in the three of us from the 9 person who left that house, knowing that it's true, we cannot have hope anymore that it's going to come somebody home. A man told us that I saw your father alive after the war, but he never came home. We were waiting for him every day at the train station, but he never came home. And that we had to start a new life, the three of us, in a wrapped house, And that state of mind, I think that was the most terrible time in my life. When we had to sit down, the three of us, eat, at that table, not even a table we found, but one table in the summer kitchen was built to the wall, and there we sat down, and then we couldn't even cook. We were young, they were a young mother and three older sisters than I am, so we couldn't cook. Some neighbor came and brought us food, and we had to start a new life, and no man around because all the men were killed at that age because the forced labor, they were there. A few came home, or too old, or young, but not our age. So it was a problem to get married also.
Because there's just no men.
No men. Yeah. So finally, a cousin brought another cousin. He brought a man to my older sister got married, and he managed. We had a vineyard, and we had, as I said before, we were not poor people, so we had what to eat. But my brother-in-law, new brother-in-law, did not wanted to stay there with us. He wanted to move back with his wife, my sister, to the city where he lived, but he couldn't leave us, me and Clara, there by himself. So I had to get married. I was already 20 years old and 21 and still not get a man. But I felt like an old maid when I was 21. No man, this is not a joke. That was a terrible thing. And then a miracle happened to me again, because I went to the next city to a dentist, I think, with my ear first, I don't know. And I met there a girl who I was together with her in the ghetto and in the concentration camp also. And she was already pregnant, and she asked me if I got married. I said, no. And then she said, how come you don't look so bad? So but, well, who looks bad when he is 21, a girl, right? And I said, you know what she said to me? My husband has a cousin, and he wants to get married because he is by himself also. He came home, and his brothers came home also because they were in the camp. And there were no women, only the 3 men there. So I said, how can I meet him? I had to get married because my sister has to move. And she said to me, well, I invite you to my house, and I'll invite him too, and then you know each other. And I said, when will you invite me? She said, next week. I said, no, invite me right now. Because I don't want to go home for nothing again. And she took me with her, yes, I went to her, and next day, somehow he invited, not next day, 2 days later, I tried to cover my leg with her dress. I tried to look good, everything, because a man is coming. And I said, I'm going to marry him even he is crippled, because I have to get married. So the man came, and he wasn't crippled. He was a tall, good-looking man. And I was thinking, my God, will he marry me? And then when we, 2 months later, we got married.
And this was Emery.
2 months later, no love or anything. I had to get married. And I was lucky because he was a very good man, also a survivor. And we moved, we got married. I don't think we had 15 people at my wedding. It was a very sad wedding because my parents were not there. But we lived in a city, Carey, and I had 2 sons with him. And 19 years after, Romania was a communist country after the war. 19 years after the war, they did not let us out from there. Only after 19 years, they started to give the passport for some people and other people. So after 19 years, we got the passport. Israel and America paid for that passport for the Romanians. We had to give up our citizenship there, no more Romanian, and they let us out, and with 4 suitcases. And the 2 boys, 15 and 13, and leave everything again what we had there. So we waited for the visa in Italy for a half a year because America checks people before they got in. So after the 6 months there, we arrived in New York with the 2 boys, with the 4 suitcases, not knowing the language, not having money. Just we are here. My husband had a sister in New York. And we started a new life again.
Anna,
and it was easy because we were free. And we did very well. I was lucky with my children because they were good in school. And we were working hard, my husband and I. And Alex is an attorney. Andrew is a geologist. And they live in Virginia. And I have 4 grandchildren and 2 great-grandsons. And I'm here telling you a story.
And I want to ask you 2 other questions before we close. Yeah. You shared with me that there were several days in particular that were among your worst days ever, but you said that you think that the 2 worst things, this is what you told me, that you think happened to you, of course, was the loss of almost all of your family, and the other was the loss of your education. And that's why educating your sons was so important to you.
Yes.
Can you say a little bit more about that?
Yes, that makes me happy in my life because my sons could have that, what I never could have. Yeah. And all my family, for my parents, was very important, the education. But I was 14 when they, I think I mentioned that. I was 14 years old in 1940. And ready to go to high school, and the first thing was what they did, stop Jewish people to go to high school and take the young men for forced labor. So I remained without education all my life. I missed that very much, and I'm happy that my children could have that and my grandchildren, and I'm happy that I could live in this free country, and I'm asking you people.
Anna, before you do that, because I know you're going to give us your last words, let me tell our audience a couple of things. We didn't have time for you to ask Anna questions. I think you probably know we wouldn't have done her justice without 3 or 4 hours to really hear all that she could share with us. For example, what Anna couldn't tell us is what she had to go through to leave Romania. It is extraordinary what Anna went through to be able to get out of Romania. It's just extraordinary. So there's a lot we didn't hear.
That's the best thing in my life.
Yeah, absolutely.
That we could leave that country when everything happened to us.
Absolutely.
I would never even go back for a visit.
So I want to thank all of you for being with us.
Thank you very much for listening to me.
And we're going to hear a little bit more from Anna. Anna's going to close our program in a moment. I would like to invite you back to another program, remind you that all our programs will be live streamed through June 6th, and all of our programs will be, you will be able to view them on the museum's YouTube channel. So one way or the other, we hope that you are able to see some other first-person programs. It's our tradition at First Person that our first person has the last word. And so I'm going to turn back to Anna for her closing comments for us. Thank you, Anna.
Well, I thank you very much for listening to me, and I'm asking you, young people here, to forget about the prejudice, anti-Semitism, and anything. It should never, ever happen to anybody what happened to us. And it's up to you, because you are the new people, all educated people. You have the occasion to do that, and to make this country and the world a better world than it was. Thank you very much.